Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, j-fallon. Thanks for joining me on the slippery slope. So I was talking the other day about how we in Australia we have leaders that don't seem to be able to make coherent decisions. They do things, and you got to sit there. Well, I sit there scratching my head, going, "What on earth made you decide to do this? Why did you go down this path?" Because there's nothing wise about some of the things that they do, and some of the things I think are, let's be straight up, I think are demonically inspired. Just that's just my opinion. You mightn't be a Christian, you mightn't have any kind of belief system, religious belief, or anything like that. But I believe that they are demonically inspired. And some of them, the phrase, was it Stalin that said, "Well, these are the useful idiots that I have." Well, unfortunately, I think that's what we have here in Australia and a lot of the different nations around the world. The leadership, the people who have been voted in, useful idiots. That's sorry to say. Just want to go through the story again. I look at it. It doesn't seem like a rational decision to me, a wise decision that you would think that you were justified to stick your nose into another nation's politics, a nation that goes and well, these people have been democratically voted in. These gentlemen have been democratically voted in to the only truly, as far as I know, it's the only truly democratic nation in that region. And yet Australia's decided, along with the UK and Canada, and while we're falling apart because of the people that we're allowing into our nation, well, then we've decided that hey, we should put sanctions on individuals from Israel. And it's just politically motivated. It doesn't seem wise at all. But I don't think we have leaders that are able to make wise decisions. They are so demonically inspired. They are so driven by lusts and by their own selfish ambitions that they think they have a hatred for Israel. They don't understand why. They just know that they don't like Israel. And that's it. So this headline: Australia, UK sanction Israeli ministers Itamar, Ben-Gvir and Bezalel, or I hope I pronounced his name right, Smotrich, maybe. So Australia, in short, Australia, New Zealand, of course, New Zealand, precious. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Norway, and the United Kingdom have announced sanctions against far right. They call them far right, but I hate that they always put these stupid terms in there. The far right Israeli government ministers, Gvir and Smotrich, the pair will face a travel ban and their assets will be frozen. I think that's one of the most egregious things I've heard. I think to be able to freeze someone's assets, it's anyway. The United States, they've condemned the decision because they've kind of turned the corner in the US. They've turned the corner and they don't think along these lines. They've really changed their points of view, and you can see because you've got a government. I'm not going to say Trump, but a lot of other government officials that he's surrounded with seems like they are more inclined to walk along biblical lines and adhere to the Judeo-Christian principles that the United States were founded upon, the Christian principles. So Australia has issued sanctions against two of the most controversial members of Israel's government. That was Gvir and Smotrich, accusing the men of inciting violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. So, in joint action by the Australian, British, Canadian, New Zealand, and Norwegian governments, which has drawn condemnation from the US and Israel, the pair will face travel bans and have their assets frozen. You know what I think would be funny is if the US turned around and said, "Well, we're going to freeze the assets. Anything that any of these people, these government ministers from these nations, including Australia, including Penny Wong, if you've got any kind of assets in America, we're going to freeze them. We're going to go ahead and freeze your bank accounts." See how they like it. See how they feel when other nations start sticking their nose in. So, Foreign Minister Penny Wong. What can you say about Penny Wong? She said that the men had incited extremist violence and serious abuses of Palestinian human rights. Yeah, okay. So they're not, anyway, extremist rhetoric advocating the forced displacement of Palestinians and the creation of new Israeli settlements is appalling and dangerous, she said in a joint statement with her foreign colleagues. These actions are not acceptable. We have engaged the Israeli government on this issue extensively, yet violent perpetrators continue to act with encouragement and impunity. You have ignored the international community, says Wong. Ben-Gvir serves as National Security Minister in Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government, while Mr Smotrich is the Finance Minister. Wong said the sanctions were not evidence Australia was deviating from its support for Israel's security in the wake of Hamas's deadly attacks on October 7, 2023. This is the thing. I mean, who wants friends like who wants enemies when you got friends when you've got friends like Australia? We support you because the violent and the violent attack, the violent demonic attack that Hamas committed in October 7, 2023. But and we want you to win. That's what we say. We want you to be able to fight back, but you've got to do it the way we want, the way we decide. We're going to dictate how you, Israel, should be able to defend yourself. You've got to do it on our terms. Mind you, Australia, when the United Nations turns around and condemns Australia for some of its human rights, or some of the actions that we take that they think don't uphold human rights, we turn around, Australians, Queensland did it just the other week. We turn around and tell the United Nations to go get stuffed, and it's our nation. We'll do what we want. But then we have the audacity to turn around and think that we can strong arm Israel, or we should be able to strong arm Israel. So she goes on, Penny Wong. Today's measures are targeted towards individuals who are, in our view, this is the way she talks, in our view, undermine Israel's own security and its standing in the world, she said. We continue to want a strong friendship. Oh, please. You can't. We continue to want a strong friendship, she said, with the people of Israel based on our shared ties, values, and commitment to their security and future. Okay. The minister also noted the sanctions were focused on Ben-Gvir and Smotrich's conduct with regards to the West Bank, but argued the measures could not be seen in isolation from the catastrophe in Gaza. Catastrophe in Gaza, which was, come on, it was incited by Hamas. They started it, for crying out loud. Australia. Anyway, we continue to be appalled by the immense suffering of civilians, including the denial of essential aid. Have you seen the figures, Penny Wong? There's not denial of essential aid. Essential aid is actually getting through. You're starting to sound as stupid as that little Greta Thunberg. Next, we'll see Penny Wong in a boat from Hong Kong with, some aid. She bypasses all the other nations like little Greta Thunberg, all the other nations that need essential aid, and goes to goes to Gaza because she'll do it all for the publicity as well. There must be no unlawful transfer of Palestinians from Gaza or within the West Bank, nor any reduction in the territory of the Gaza Strip. Again, this is Israel's land in reality. But yet Australia, Penny Wong, decides that she can decide, she can dictate to another nation. She told reporters on Wednesday the Netanyahu government's actions in Gaza and its granting of impunity for settler violence in the West Bank were extinguishing the prospects of a two-state solution. Clownface Wong, there will not be a two-state solution. You've got to get it through your thick head. It's not going to happen. So together, These countries are sending a message. You have ignored the international community, and we do not tolerate it. The international community is on the wrong side here, I've got to say, I will say. So, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said the Israeli government had been informed by a UK decision to include two of our ministers on the British sanctions list. It is outrageous that elected representatives and members of the government are subjected to this kind of measures. He said, I've discussed it earlier today with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and we will hold a special government meeting earlier next week to decide on our response to this unacceptable decision. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio condemned the sanctions, saying they do not advance US led efforts to achieve a ceasefire, bring all hostages home, and end the war. Penny Wong, do you even consider the hostages that are still being held since 2023? You're a disgrace to Australia. So we reject any notion of equivalence. Hamas is a terrorist organization that committed unspeakable atrocities. We remind our partners not to forget who the real enemy is. I'm sorry, US, but Australia and the UK and Canada and New Zealand, we've all gone off the deep end a long time ago. We are far too woke, which is part of the reason why we're going broke. But yeah, we are far too woke, and this is why we have people like Penny Wong who are in positions of power. Prime Minister Anthony Jet Setting Albanese, Mardi Gras leader Albanese, said the US and Israel responses were predictable. Frankly, oh, it's so what? He's a tool. He's a disgrace for a prime minister. We have continued to express concern about humanitarian issues in Gaza. We've continued to have a consistent position, he told the ABC. Senator Wong said the US government had been contacted overnight about the sanctions. There are occasions on which in our alliance with the US we have had differences of views and differences of approach, but obviously there remains a great deal of strategic alignment across many domains, she told the ABC. Mr. Albanese said the matter was not a priority for his discussions with US President Donald Trump on the sidelines of next week's G7 summit. Coalition frontbencher Dan Tehan did not directly criticize the government's decision, of course, because we don't have anyone in government on the opposition or anywhere that's got a backbone that can actually speak up against things that are actually wrong. But did tell Radio National Breakfast the government needed to explain why it had imposed sanctions given in the US position. We all want peace. Listen, first thing that I would say is I agree with what they say in this article, what these Israeli ministers say, that it's outrageous that elected representatives, members of governments, are subjected to those kinds of measures, to these kinds of measures from other foreign governments, that we have the audacity to stick our nose in and try and not try and take these measures against members of another government and think that we are justified. Where do we get off doing that? And like I said, when the UN turns around and points the finger at us in Australia, our government's always quick to stand up and say, keep your nose out of it. You know, we're our own people and we do what we want. We are the biggest hypocrites, and all the things that are going wrong in our own nations. I'm saying the UK, Australia, Canada, all the problems that we've got going on. Oh, and then they have the French President Macron, all the problems that we've got going on. With the silent invasion that we've allowed, that we've encouraged, and then we have the audacity to go and put sanctions on a nation that's actually willing to stand up for its own rights, to stand up for its own people, that's actually in the middle of a war, an actual war, uh, you know, and we have the audacity to go and put these kinds of sanctions on them. But like I said in a previous podcast, it seems like, or not seems like, we have leaders that are operating with a reprobate mind. They are unable to think clearly. They have been so given over to depraved thinking. And all they care about is worshipping the created, not worshipping the actual creator. They think about their own selfish ambition. That's all they care about. And they don't understand why, but they have a deep down hatred for the nation of Israel. They don't understand. I don't think they do. I don't think they really understand that they are, in my opinion, demonically inspired. This is all my opinion. I'm saying this because this is what I believe. But hey, let's let me know what you think. I'd really be interested to know what you think about this whole situation. Whether you think Australia is justified or whether we're just sticking our nose in where it doesn't belong. My name's j-fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel the desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going